So anyway, so we got to move on. We finished our thoughts about Norway, so let's talk about Portugal. So in case you know, Portugal Festival de Canção is back. Well, it's back every year, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. But let's talk a little bit about the songs. There are 16 of them, right? 8 in each semi. I believe it was 16. Yeah. Yes. And I did a reaction video to both of them. Make sure to check that out. I had very different reactions to each semi.
Yes.
So let's go for them one by one. Not one by one each song, but let's talk about the semis first. Obviously, the first one comes. We need to talk about the semi-final one. Roy, you've listened to the songs, just like you get a quick little overall first impressions. What are your thoughts about the first semifinal?
Listen, firstly, I need to address something to you because you obviously listened to the song split in semi 1 and semi 2, and I listened to them as a big bunch, and I didn't know what was in which semi yet. So I feel like our overall feeling of the selection is different, but that's besides the point because you asked about semi 1. And I do agree that semi-final 1 is a lot better than semi-final 2. Three of my favorites are in that semi-final. But in general, I think the Portuguese selection is quite strong this year. And I firmly enjoyed the first time listening to it as a whole. I know there are still a lot of those, slow songs, those Portuguese songs that you get every single year. But there is so much less of that than there was in the previous 2 years, and I really like that about it. I think Portugal took a big step forward, and yes.
Interesting. Yes. So I really enjoyed the first semifinal. There were 3 songs in particular that stood out to me. I'm going to talk about it. You probably saw my reaction video, so it may not come as a surprise. And so I do feel as the winner is and should come from this semifinal. It, to me, was a very interesting experience. Overall, I will say I like the last 2 years of Festival de Canção a whole lot better. Even though if my favorites win, the winner could be potentially better. But the quality song-wise to me this year is not quite as fantastic as it was in the past couple of years. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I just feel like there was such a big gap between the really good songs and the really not so good songs. And I wish I would have been a little bit more, like good songs in between or nice songs, but there was not a whole lot in between. There was either like, or it was like, oh. So that was probably my biggest issue here. Okay, I need you as my saving grace here. Roy. So, because I'm going to talk first about semifinal 2. I just released a video was it yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watched it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And people who know me, I'm a nice guy. I'm not like the...
Yes. No, okay,
right. Where is the hang up button? In general, and here's the thing, I do respect artists and the music, and every once in a while I just get like so frustrated with music, just like everybody else, and I don't want to just pretend I like something if I don't. And semifinal 2 was a difficult semi for me. And if you like that kind of music, the traditional folky Portuguese music, then maybe this was for you. But to me, it was not at all. I hardly liked any song in that semi, and it was so difficult because even though I can have an appreciation for traditional music that is a little bit more local, has a local sound, I still need somewhat of an arrangement and melody, and that was lacking to me in this semi. We're going to talk in a little bit more detail in just a moment. But I was looking at the list, looking at it right now, and I was like, I don't get it. I listened to like Jimmy Peace, and all of a sudden I thought, well, everyone's going to hate that one. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, we love that one. It's one of my favorites. I'm like, that weird rap song?
You call it weird, Matt.
Huh?
We'll get to that.
It's like, I couldn't make it. I always watch the entire 3 minutes. I didn't do it there. I didn't get the Louis and Gus song either. We had like 2 different styles. All of a sudden he sings this really like folky local song, and then they break into rap, and my jaw dropped. And I'm like, What am I missing here? What, okay, but I'm just being honest here. So I would love to hear from people in the chat as well. Let me know how you feel. I know a lot of people agree with me. I saw that as well.
Mm.
But I know there's no such thing as universal agreement. So I gotta be honest. I was bored. How
Yeah.
and you make it up for it, Roy?
Well,
Save me.
I gotta agree on some sort of with you because I do feel like a lot of the slower songs are in the second semifinal, and that is really unfortunate because there's a bit of a disbalance between the two. But I
Hmm.
still, man, when I listen to that rap song that you don't like, the Jimmy P song, I'm not gonna try to pronounce it; it's way too difficult.
Yes, I just said the
Uh,
name.
yeah, I've been so yeah, that one. Uh, I listened to it the first time, and I don't even understand Portuguese. But for some reason, the way he was singing his lyrics and the way he delivered it, it
Singing.
just, well, rapping the lyrics, I guess. He just, it sounded like something was frustrating him, and a frustration was building. And then towards the end of the song, that kind of ended in like an opening to the world of like, whoa, everything is good now. And then I looked up the lyrics and I
I
was
was
like,
gone by
well,
then, probably.
this,
I was like,
yeah,
probably like,
probably, yes. But this song is really good to me. If you read into the lyrics, it is about his bad childhood and that
isn't it
nearly
in
went to
Portuguese
bed.
though?
Yeah, it is in Portuguese.
Except for the chorus. Hey mama, hey
Well,
mama.
it's not really a chorus. It's more like
Oh,
I guess it's more like he's reading off a poet to a rap beat, and he's like rapping to it, and the mama part is a bit of a break in between, and that's also where the switch happens from okay, my past was bad, but now I'm starting to climb, and then in the end, it musically it opens up, and he's like, I'm happy now. Yeah, I really like this song, and I am sorry to tell you that, but you are wrong, Matt. It is a good song.
was my least favorite of all the songs in the running,
Mm.
and I like how I'm curious. But you had to look up the lyrics to get it, or did you just feel
No,
the
well,
vibe?
the first time I was really intrigued by it. I just listened to it and I don't know, I just felt really emotional with the way he was rapping the song and it was just I don't know, it wasn't in the tone or I felt like he was stuck on something and that he needed some help or something like that
Hmm.
and that he found that and I don't know, I just felt the song even though I didn't speak Portuguese and then I looked up the lyrics and it was even better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And here, don't get me wrong. I love when the song is in the native tongue, and sometimes you don't need to know the language to get the feel and the vibe of the song. And this one, not at all. It didn't. It didn't. So it's just a personal thing, I guess. So yeah, I didn't like any of the song. I mean, I did point out one song that I thought was good, Dubio.
Yeah, that was
Seke
good.
Guevara. It's not still like am I high up in my brain, but I see a lot of redeeming qualities that this song brings to the table. But I also feel as there was that distinct moment missing, like the surprising moment that makes it really like the standout song. But I like the singer's voice and I love the instrumental part of it. The chorus is really strong, the verses are a little less impressive. But I thought it was a good effort. How did you feel about that one?
Yeah, I have exactly the same feelings about how it's structured. I feel like it's a bit of an unfinished song. Like
Mm-hmm.
the chorus and the build up towards it are very different from one another. And it's like it works for the first time, but then it takes so long to get to the second drop, I guess, the way you want to call it, like the guitar riffs. Um, it just takes a bit too long for me, and it is a good song. I really enjoy listening to it. Like I will definitely bob my head back and forth to it. But it shouldn't win in Portugal, definitely not. But it's good.
Okay, so now that we briefly analyzed the two semis, but it's good that we have two different
Yeah.
perspectives here. One is mine, and one is the wrong one. So, but no kidding. So, let's talk about. I think you were kind enough to put together your personal top five, right?
Yes.
I only have a top three because that's all I could come up with. So, I will have to look at my other two options. So, why don't you go ahead first with your fifth place and why?
My fifth place, I think I put the Dubio song. It is a bit like I said, it is a bit like has a unfinished feeling to it, and it is good, and I really enjoy listening to it. But the other fours are just better. And I don't know, there are definitely a lot of worse songs in the semi or in the selection in general, and I think it definitely deserves a spot in my top five, but it shouldn't be much higher than that.
Okay. Well, in this case, since I couldn't find a fifth place, I'm going to put Jimmy P in my fifth place.
Just because I talked you into
Because
it, or
I will don't want to have the Portuguese mob come after me. So,
yeah.
I don't get so Jimmy P is my fifth place.
Mm.
All right, how about, go ahead, Roy. What is your fourth place?
My fourth place is a song that is really cool, but it has a bit of a danger that it could fall flat with the staging, and they could really go for the straightforward way or the lazy way to stage the song, and that could make it not as good. But I would love to see it performed live, and I'm talking about Barbara Tinoco with Passepartout. I think it is really good, really well written. She can sing incredibly well, and I have no doubt that she'll deliver those vocals on the live stage as well. I wouldn't even mind seeing it to Eurovision, but I just have personal preference to the other three songs. Yeah, that's kind of the reason why she's only number four. But I would love to see her at Eurovision.
Okay, that's absolutely fair.
Hmm.
That is absolutely fair. My personal number four is definitely the one you just mentioned, which is Dubio featuring 351 plus 351. For the reason I mentioned, I think it has so many good things going for it. But I just like three songs from the other semi better. So that's why I put it there. So I don't have much to add because you summed it up better than I could have. So that's my fourth place. What is your third place?
My third place is Jimmy P's song. Yeah, it really touched me the first time I listened to it, and when I looked at the lyrics, it became even better. And I just really enjoy listening to it, and I can definitely see why not everybody would go for it, because rap is kind of a divisive genre in general. Like, you need to get it or you don't, and if you don't get it, then you probably don't like this either. Um, and yeah, I enjoy it, so it's a number three for me. I don't think I can say much more than that. I think I've already said everything about it.
Okay, well, my third place, Bronx medal, goes to Elisa,
Mm.
Medo de Sentir. I think this sounds like a very I wouldn't say expected, but genuine Portuguese song. I think that's the one. Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
That reminds me a little bit more of like 2018, and I don't know how it would fare at Eurovision, but it has a beautiful melody. I felt the emotions. Again, this is the kind of song I can point at, Roy, where I don't speak the language, but I
Yeah.
felt the emotions, and I saw that I connected with a whole lot more. So I
Mhm.
think this would be a great choice. Um, as well. Again, I'm worried about its chances at Eurovision, but
Yeah.
based on my personal taste, I think it's a pretty good song. So
Uh,
that
that
is my. Go
that
ahead.
was my biggest concern with that song. I don't think it would really do well at Eurovision. I think my top five would be a little bit more interesting or unique, more
Hmm.
to say. I think it is a good ballad, but it could easily get overshadowed by a better ballad if it were to go to Eurovision. So it's probably like my honorable mention, or however you
Yeah.
want to call it.
No, and that is true. It's definitely the kind of song that it's going to have a lot of supporters within the Eurovision community. But I
Yeah.
think the average, ordinary Eurovision person that doesn't watch all the national final has like all that kind of intricacies going into it. This would probably fall flat. But this is my personal list. It's not what I
Mm.
what I predict. So this is what I put in third place. So let's move on to your silver medal, Roy. Who is it and why?
Oh my God. I have on the second place, and I'm sorry if I butchered the name. It is Throws and the Shine with Movimento. Yeah, I like rap music, and I think they really pull this off well. It is interesting throughout, and it changes so often, and it makes it a very unique experience to to it, and it makes you want to listen to it again and again, in my opinion. I think they did a really good job. I'm only a bit concerned about the live performance, um, but we can only wait and see what they do with that. But yeah, it is my number two.
All right, fair enough. So my number two is the song that you just mentioned. It was Barbara Tinoco, right?
Mhm.
Passe Partout.
Yes.
That is my second favorite. Again, is it the song that you would expect coming from Portugal? Probably not. I mean, it felt so French if if you don't really pay attention to the lyrics, that is. And I just love that kind of music. I think this would be I have no idea how this would fare at Eurovision. This would be a big wild card for me. Could connect, could not connect. And I love wild cards. I love this unexpected kind of, what's going to happen at the contest. So I hope it's going to do well. It should qualify for sure. And I really hope that. I think my top two are far ahead of the rest. So this would be one of the songs I would be thrilled to see in the end at Eurovision. So definitely high up. So let's talk about, though, the song that should win Festival de Canção, Roy. According to your humble opinion, or not so humble opinion, who is it and why?
Well, I think we can only agree on one song here. It is by far one of the better environment songs I've ever heard. It is about like climate change, and it is about that we need to stand up and rebel against what is happening, and that we need to make sure that our planet doesn't get destroyed. And obviously I'm talking about Blasted Mechanism with Rebellion. It just has, it's so interesting and so unique. We've never seen anything like this in Eurovision. I don't think I've even ever really heard anything like it before, period. And it is so interesting, and I looked at the picture that they had on the Festival de Canção video, and they look like a really interesting band. So staging-wise, there's a lot of potential there as well, and it's definitely an amazing song, and I think it would do really well at Eurovision as well.
Okay, well, that's something that I can only echo. I do agree Rebellion is the must-go to. Once again, not necessarily a song that I would think would be my number one, but it just shows that when a song is really good and powerful, people gravitate towards it. And even if it's not the genre that you usually maybe think you would go for. And that's exactly how I feel about Rebellion. It's just so well executed. And as I said, it's one of the best songs for the genre to be powerful, because it gives a certain, like, almost anger when they sing it. Like, and it's so powerful. And it would be a fantastic song to send to Eurovision. I do see some people saying this is not a good choice, not because it's a bad song, but it would not do fair well with the juries. And that is a fair criticism maybe to make, but I do think that you need to send really your best song, and I think this would be the most memorable. Yes, last year you sent a song that was a little more outside of the box, which I appreciated, and it just didn't work at Eurovision. And maybe this could happen again, but I feel as Portugal, you should focus more on quality than just results, and because you just won a few years ago anyway, right? But I do think that you have this pearl that would just add so much to the contest. And even if you become the next Georgia who sends songs, we don't care about the results. We want to send unique music that represents us and we are proud of. Go for that. Don't worry too much about the results. If music is genuine and people feel it can do well at Eurovision. Now, do you think, Roy, that a song in English can win Festival de Canção? Because that in itself is quite controversial.
Yeah, that is like the thing. Last year also.
When you say conservative, like politically, or like what do you mean by that?
By song taste, usually, right?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, like more the older ballady kind of songs. That's what I mean. And this is like the polar opposite of that. And I don't know. We have to wait and see. But I hope they see the power in it and they see the quality in it, because it's really well written. It's really well produced, and I think it's really unique, and it should go to Eurovision. So I hope they will give it a chance.
Yeah, I agree with that. Two things I want to add to that. There is a good point you make, because, and not they're the same songs, but at least maybe somewhat down the same genre was Hungary 2018. That was even harder, of course. But that didn't do well with the juries. But then, for instance, Georgia 2016 did fantastic with the juries and not with the televoters. So I would not feel like you should be discouraged because it's not what we would perceive as a comfort zone for the juries, because the juries can surprise at times as well, especially if a song is good. So I have a lot of hopes. So we can open up the room. If you have any questions in regards to the Portuguese selection or Portugal in general, at ESC United in the chat, happy to answer the questions. Any other thoughts on your end, Roy, about the selection?
Yeah, overall, I thought it was really good. I think last year there were only like 2 or 3 songs that I really enjoyed, and the rest was just filler for me. So like
Mm-hmm.
the slow melody songs, and this time around there were like 8 or 9 songs that I was like, well, that's kind of cool. It's not necessarily that I felt strong about it, but 6 of the songs are really good in my eyes, and I think Portugal is definitely taking a step in the right direction. And I know you disagree with that, but that is my view.
Yeah. So no, I mean I hear what you're saying, and that's the beauty about Eurovision. We are allowed to disagree. I don't necessarily again share your thoughts, but if there is an audience for it, that's great. I love to hear that because when I did my first video for the semifinal one, so many people said don't watch the second, don't bother, and I was like, why? And I was like, okay, now I get it. So yeah, but it's wonderful to hear that there is place for that kind of, for all kinds of music. HCB is asking, other than 2017, favorite Portugal song of the decade? Roy, can you think? I have to think through real quick right now. I will say it wasn't necessarily Portugal's strongest decade overall,
Yeah.
but I do need some Eurovision. I don't want to call it trash, but Eurovision friendly music every once in a while. And Susie Portugal 2014 delivered.
Yeah.
It's a Eurovision party song. She embraced Eurovision. I love that song, and that was probably my number one. Well, my number two after Salvador.
Mhm.
How about you, Roy? Can you think
Yeah,
of one?
I gotta pick something else, right? I kind of really enjoyed what Claudio Pascual did. I think it was not for everyone, and that is probably why it didn't do well. And she was the host as well, and maybe they didn't give it their all. But the song on its own, and if I listen to it back now, I'm like, that's actually still a really pretty song. So I should probably go for that. I really enjoyed the studio version of last year as well, but it kind of fell flat on the Eurovision stage. So I'd
Yeah.
probably say Claudio,
Yeah.
Claudia.
I totally forgot. Definitely an honorable mention for me for Portugal telemovies last year as well. What a daring entry, even though it didn't work out. I totally
Yes.
forgot about it right now, actually, as I'm going for the list. That one should have definitely get all the credit in the world. I think to me, those are the top three songs to me. 2018, not 2018, 2019, 2017, and 2014. Those were the one I would pick.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic. While our live stream is still working, I want to talk about just for 1 minute about Russia because we don't get a whole lot of news from Russia as of late. So I would love to go into that for just a second because one thing is very interesting about Russia. It's not unique per se, but it's still interesting. Is that they have two broadcasters, and each broadcaster they take turns every year. And one year, one broadcaster picks the song, and then the next year, the other one. And this one is interesting. I forgot the one that's called right now. Let me look it up right now. Where did it go? Do you remember the name of the broadcaster I'm talking about right now for
I
Russia?
do
Channel
not
One,
know.
right? I think what's it called. Um, Anyway, that broadcaster, there's one broadcaster that is in charge of picking this year, and they're known to pick their songs late in the running.
Hmm.
And so we probably should not expect to get a song. Channel 1 was the name, by the way. I was right. I just got
Mhm.
it up here. Channel 1 is the broadcaster that's picking it this year. They're usually really late announcing the song, so we should not wait for any updates until the end of the February, potentially even closer to the deadline in March. Um, so they picked this year. It's kind of like Belgium as well. They said they have two broadcasters in
Yes.
Belgium. They take turns as well. The Flemish one, then the other one, right? I forgot the names as well. So that is how they do it there. And they did a poll, a Russian newspaper, and oh gosh, do I have to pronounce it? Komsomolskaya Pravda. So that they have announced who fans want to see at Eurovision. This may have zero outcome on the actual results, but it's interesting for me, just a way to see some of the music that is out there, because I'm not super familiar with the music scene in Russia. And apparently the number one act that they would like to see at Eurovision is called Little Big. It's a rave group and like rave music, and definitely not the kind of music that you potentially would expect at Eurovision. So
Yeah.
that is going to be interesting. I listened to them just to get an idea why the people are raving about. It would be most certainly quite a controversial, oh, not controversial, but polarizing option because it's not for everyone, that kind of music.
Mm.
I listened to some of the songs and I think it would be such a fun, daring option to me.
Yeah.
So I would love to see them. They have a bunch of songs. There's a song about bananas. I forgot the name right now. That was released like, yeah, that was released like 2 months ago. So that would actually qualify. You could potentially be, still within the EBU rules. I thought that this would be Russia's likelihood of qualifying is big. Yes, we've seen that there is a chance they couldn't qualify from the semis, but I think there's a 90% chance that they will go through regardless of the song. And I think go with something a little bit outside of the box, something less predictable, like the safe area that Russia tends to go. Go with something like WTF. And to us, a lot of the people would be a little bit WTF, but I would love to see that band. Have you listened to them, Roy? What are your thoughts?
I already knew them before they
Okay.
were like tipped to go to Eurovision. I knew them from their hit Skibbity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just an amazing song. I wouldn't necessarily call them a rave group. I think they're like a bit of a satirical group that just makes electronic music. So that they find something that they want to make a joke about, or they find something funny sounding and they make a cool song out of it. And they actually make quality music. Like what they produce is really good, even though it's a bit silly. Maybe prefer a serious artist over them, but you don't need all Eurovision winners. You can have some fun as well. And if you were ever to have an artist that is all about fun, I think Little Big is the artist to send. And especially Russia, since you would not expect an artist like that to go to Eurovision. Um, I wouldn't personally pick Go Bananas. I think it's a bit, it's a bit mediocre. But yeah, I would be really curious what they come up with, and
Yeah.
hope it's not too provoking.
That is true, right? The other act that they number two was a singer called Sivert. Have you checked her out as well?
Yeah, I didn't know her before. She sounded really interesting too. She's like, she got a good voice, and she has like a bit of a low-key electronic music on the back of it. But what I really liked about her is that most of her songs, if not all, are in Russian, and I think that would be something cool to see at Eurovision. Because when was the last time we've seen a full Russian song in Eurovision? I don't think it's been very recent that we've seen that.
I
Maybe
can
you
think
know that.
2003 was the last one. Tattoo, I want to
2003.
say, right?
Yeah, so
Uh,
it is time to get a
yeah.
Russian song. So she would be a good pick for that.
Yeah, no, I liked her music as well, and I think it seems it's kind of current, but it gives me certain songs. I mean, it seems a little bit diverse. Some of her songs has a little bit of a retro feel to it as well, not like kitschy 80s, but some of the sound I felt like she captured there as well. I thought that I'm always worried when you pick an artist that really has already an established style, and just like Azerbaijan, and sometimes even Russia does it, that they just put a very westernized, like approachable song. Because even Sergei Lazarev's music that he sent to Eurovision is not necessarily always in line with what he does mainstream in Russia. It's still pop, but it's a little bit more Russian Eastern pop.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping that if they were to send her, that she would stay true to her roots. That is
Yeah.
always my thing. But I think that would be a really good choice as well. We won't know for a while, and I don't necessarily think that the producers in charge will necessarily take all of that into consideration. Do you have, besides of these two acts, Roy, any other act, whether they've taken part before or not, in mind that you think would be a great choice for Russia?
Oof, you didn't ask me this question beforehand. You put me on the spot here.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
not I'm not really known in Russian music. Phew. Yeah, I couldn't really think of something.
Yeah.
I would have to look into that.
I don't know much about the Russian scene either,
Mm.
so I could not pick an act that is out there. Is there an act that you would love to see return to Eurovision? Because usually my go-to answer was
Oh.
Sergei Lazarev, but he just returned last year, so that would be a very, very weak answer to give. So I keep just thinking, who would? I mean, I would love to see Polina back because she was
Yeah, she was good.
when I say wronged, it's not necessarily that she should have won per se, but just the way she was treated by the fans was
Mm.
it was one of my lowest moments at Eurovision being in the press center. It was really hard for me to be there at that moment because I was really upset the way it was done. So I would love for her to get her moment where they're just like, yeah, you go. But Russia right now probably gets booed anyway, unless it's Sergey. Can you think of another act that you would love to see back?
Yeah, well, on Polina, I think the issue with her is that she is such an amazing song the first time around that I feel like she can only really disappoint with the next song. So maybe it isn't the best option in that regard, but I really get your sentiment that she was a little bit wronged. Um, Oddly enough, my favorite song of the decade from Russia was in 2010, Lost and
I
Forgotten.
love that one too.
I love it so much because it sounds so Russian to me, and it sounds so
Exactly.
unique, and I would love to see something like that again. So if they were to return, I would not be against that at all.
No, like it's like even though it was in English, it still felt Russian. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah. So, and by the way, someone in the chat pointed out we forgot the Russian grannies in 2012.
Yeah.
They sing a Russian kind of thing,
That
you know.
was that was still
but
like they were still singing "Party
for
for
everybody
Everybody
dance. That is true.
Is that really
Come on
true
and
Russian?
boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. So I definitely would agree with what I was saying. 2010. I remember when it came out, I was like the only one who liked it. And so I'm glad that now in hindsight, more and more people still have a soft spot for it.
Yeah.
So I'd love to something like that at Eurovision again. I want Russia just. I know Russia wants to win again. You know, they're really aiming for another victory, so I don't think they would send something. They want to send something that is approachable to the masses. I just know. So we have to wait and see, but I would love that as well. This is where we're at with Russia, at least at this point right now. So just don't expect any news in the near future. So let's talk a little bit about Germany. So Germany, as you know, we've had these beautiful or less beautiful, depending on your subjective opinion there, national final. Unser Star für Tel Aviv, Unser Star für what were we for? Lisbon, whatever city we in. So our song for our singer for, and last year was a little bit of a what is the most politically correct word? Disaster. The way it was done, in that sense that the producers felt like they wanted to have a hand in the outcome, and ultimately at Eurovision, Germany flopped. So after this really bad result, we haven't had any updates on what's going to happen with the national final, whether or not we're going to have one. And only thing we were told is that we would get an update by the end of the month. So end of January, that is. So we're still waiting, of course, on the, updates on that, but there are information in the press, in the German press, that we're going to have Unser Star for Rotterdam. But unlike in previous years, it's not going to be live. There's going to be a delay of 45 minutes or something like that. It is allegedly hosted by Barbara. I forgot her last name. Schöneberger, Schweigeberger, who hosted it in the previous years as well. But it'll only be a 45-minute show. Weird, right? So what we believe is that it's just going to be basically a song that was chosen internally by a jury and committee, kind of like what they did behind closed doors, basically a selection process.
Yeah.
Like what they did in Switzerland. They felt inspired by, because Switzerland, they delivered in 2019. So they're trying to, I guess, to copy that. And but they're just keeping it hush hush for everyone. So we may get the show on February the 27th is the date that is being floating around as far as the reveal is concerned. There's so much I have to say about this, and I briefly talked about that in my last live stream. Roy, just as some general thoughts, what do you think? Did I miss anything? What are your thoughts about the whole process in Germany right now?
Something interesting in chat, and I'll get to that later. But to me, Germany had something really cool. I really like the idea of young and aspiring artists learning how to write songs in a good way that were true to themselves, and having them compete with those songs. And it honestly, last year, I thought the quality drastically improved from the year before, and I thought they were really on a good track. Now, they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they took the sisters and they bypassed the entire system that made it so good and so cool, and that won. And that's so sad, man. But On the other hand, maybe they'll do an internal selection, and one of the stars from last year will be the selected artist. Like Ellie Ryan was rumored to be in all kinds of national
Yeah.
selections this year, so maybe she gets a
She
spot for
started
Germany.
those rumors as well, though, because she sent something to San Marino. She was saying and all of that stuff. So,
Yeah, exactly. So maybe she was chosen internally. I thought Lily Among Clouds did a really cool song last year, and
yes,
if she has two other cool songs that are very much true to herself, but just a little bit different in energy or in atmosphere, maybe that would be a really cool artist to send as well. And going back to what that was said in chat, I think it was Yella said that. He said maybe they'll go for something like Finland has done a couple of last years, where they have one artist performing three songs. Since the show is 45 minutes, so just one song would not make sense, right? So it would make sense if they have three songs, kind of listen to them real quick, then have everybody vote for it, and then the results. It'll be a short show, and it could be cool.
it could be cool, but then why is it delayed though? Like you cannot vote live unless the
Yeah.
results are being then presented
Ah, yeah, that's right.
at a
Yeah.
later point. That
Hmm.
could be as well. Yes, I mean they tried to do that. I think I want to say in 2016 with Xavier Naidoo, and he was internally selected and then was going to present three songs,
Hmm.
but then he withdrew because it was a controversial decision because he had made some controversial statements in the past, and the Eurovision fans were not happy, and so he ultimately withdrew. And then they did a good old-fashioned national final where we then sent Ghost and finished in last place. But different story. Yes, I have a lot of issues with what Germany's doing because I will probably not be invited to any German shows in the near future, so I can just say I have very low expectations when it comes to the NDR, the broadcaster. They suck at
Hmm.
Eurovision. They suck so bad, and they
Yeah.
have this sense of um, entitlement, like confidence. I remember in 2017 being in the press center, and I saw the German team, and they were all like, Levina was, and everyone knew Levina's song was going to flop, right? And they were so
Hmm.
confident it's going to do well, and they're like, yeah, and bragging. I'm like, it's good to be confident, support your act, but don't be arrogant about it,
Yeah.
especially knowing that you have a not so good song. And they just don't know what they're doing, and it bothers
Yeah.
me so much. And the fact that they don't communicate anything, and they just do it the last minute kind of thing, just shows that they're just struggling, and they just after one bad, I mean, we had bad results in the past, but this new system that we put in place, you cannot just give up after one bad
Yeah.
result. Because in 2018, Michael Schulte, fourth place, almost third place. That is a fantastic result. You won something, and the reason why you didn't do well is because you bypassed the sisters by giving him that final spot. They didn't have to go for all of the stuff that the other acts had to go through. They get the prime spot in the last running order. You get the jury support and all of that, and yet you shot yourself in the foot as you said that. So I just have so little hope. I want them to prove me wrong. And this
Hmm.
is coming from a place of love. Call it tough love. I'm German. I'm allowed to be a little bit more critical here. It just bothers me because we all know Germany, the biggest country, well, Russia, technically, but you know what I mean. Germany has the biggest country in Europe. They have a lot of talent, so many good singers. And them going with internal selection is a little bit silly. They just have to come up with a system that works for everyone. In 2010 to 2012, we did really good with Lena and Roman, and that was because we had the private broadcaster ProSieben involved.
Hmm.
And then they stopped getting involved, and that's when our results went. And just stick to something for a few years. It is just
Yeah.
so silly to throw it out the window. They feel like, okay, we're going to do what Switzerland did and go with internal selections. I tried that in 2009 with Miss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh God.
Exactly. I rest my case. So this is why I'm sorry. I want to be more optimistic, and I want to be, and I'm supportive, but I just have such low expectations when with what they're doing. Um, did I miss anything?
No, I think you kind of nailed it. Yeah, you kind of nailed everything. It's just really unfortunate to see such a country full of talent do so poorly. But I guess that's also like UK has the same thing, but that's a different kind of beast. I I, I love the system. I think it was really cool, like I said, and I just feel a bit sad that it ditched it immediately. And it is obviously because what happened last year, but we'll have to see. And I'm also preparing for the worst. And I hope they prove us wrong. I really do hope so.
Yes, I hope so too. As much as I love my country and my home country, and I
Mm.
want them to do well, it's just I'm looking at the pattern, and the
Hmm.
pattern just tells me it's going to suck. But if I end up being wrong and we're gonna win or get like a top five or whatever, or just a decent result, I'm okay. I don't want to be right. It's not about that. I just wish there would be a little bit more organized because even if they do well, is it only a broken clock is right twice a day as well? Do you know what I mean? You could just get really lucky with that one time choice, and depriving people from like a national final would make me really, really sad. Um, it's part of what we've done for so many years in Germany, and it just seems I just don't know. I see a few questions or statements here in the chat. ESC Veggie is saying, I think Michael Schulte will be selected because he has no concert in May. I don't think they're going to go with Michael Schulte again.
No, it's
I
too
don't think
soon.
Michael Schulte would want to go back because, you made a good point about Polina Russia. His song was
Mhm.
so popular and so well liked, it's going to be so difficult to top that. And
Yeah,
some
that's
acts come back again and try. But I don't see Michael being that kind of artist. Do you think so?
no. I think he enjoyed the journey, but I don't think he necessarily loved all the showbiz besides it. He seems like a very chilled guy that would
Mm-hmm.
love to represent his country and loves to sing and just did his thing. But I don't think he would return, or if he were to return, I don't think it would be like 2 years after he first had his song compete.
Yeah.
I think it would be too soon.
Ari is saying in the chat, Matt and Roy, just like in the last couple of years that has been done in the Netherlands for you, where they chose the singer songwriters and let them choose their own song. This is kind of correct because that's not how it was in 2019. They chose the act with the song, right? They knew that the song
Yeah.
was good that Duncan Lawrence submitted, and so
Mm.
they chose the package. While with Waylon and some other acts, they let the bigger names, they let them choose their song, right? They chose the artist and they chose their song. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't fully know how everything worked behind the scenes. I know that Waylon, when he selected his song, he made like five of them and like
Yes.
proposed them to a committee. But then he like pushed through his own opinion towards everyone, and then he made them all agree basically to the same song. So there was really no point in doing that because he already had his mind set on one song. But yeah.
Yeah. Actually, ESC Veggie is saying he said he wants to get back. So
Ah, okay.
I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a risk,
Mhm.
like after such a great result. But if he has a good song, by all means, go for it. Go for it. So this is our thoughts about Germany. Let's move on to the next topic here. We'll quickly go to get two more, I think. And you probably have paid attention to the news, but Jan Ola Sand is the executive supervisor of the Eurovision Song Contest, but he's stepping down
Yes.
in just a few months after Eurovision
Mm.
2020. I have to think like I'm living in the past, almost at 2019. It's so weird. We're in the 20s now.
Yeah.
In 2020, so he is stepping down. So they were looking for a new executive supervisor, and I'm sure a gazillion applications came in. Everyone said it's going to be Sietze Bakker, but I never knew. I knew it wasn't going to be him. Ultimately, they decided that Martin Österdahl is going to take over the reign, and
Yes.
he is. Everyone, sit down. Hold on tight. Swedish. So another Scandinavian producer. A lot of people are like, of course. Now they said Martin is the perfect candidate to continue and build on the exceptional work done by Jan Ola Sand over the past decade. The Eurovision Song Contest has been transformed under Jan Ola's guidance, setting new standards in world-class television production. Martin is a great creative talent and has invaluable experience from his work as executive supervisor of two exceptional contests and numerous other successful entertainment shows. He's an excellent leader and storyteller, which is a core for us to work closely with the EBU members to develop and grow the world's largest live music event in the next decade. and beyond. So just to add context, that he was the executive supervisor not of the EBU but of the Eurovision Song Contest in Malmö in 2013, as well in Stockholm in 2016. So he certainly has experience with Eurovision, which is always a good thing to have.
Hmm.
Now, just 10 years as the executive supervisor for Jan Ola Sand is a long time as a supervisor. So a lot of people, probably even in the chat, is the only supervisor that you have all known. I think Stakelius was the one before, but it feels like a lifetime ago. Um, I mean, look at the content that has changed since 2010, right? I mean, we had this we had the semifinal system, all that already, and we started getting the juries all in. But the producer run order, that kind of stuff, that has changed. Australia coming in, the voting system has changed. The way the votes are being presented has changed. So a lot of stuff has changed over the 10 years. So I expect a lot of things to change over the next how many years Martin is going to be the executive supervisor. And that is my question to you, Roy. And it's a difficult. What do you think is Jan Ola Sand's legacy, and how do you look back at Jan Ola Sand's decade as the executive supervisor?
Um, that is indeed a difficult question. I think it is a bit weird that he's only been there for like 10 years. It feels like he's been there for way longer. And it is kind of weird to sometimes see him where the contest has modernized so much and you see this kind of oldish guys sitting there and confirming all the points were correct. But still, he implemented so many good things. And I definitely think one of his biggest things is the point system change. I think that has been really good for everything. It shows more fairness, more transparency about how juries vote, about how countries vote for their favorite songs, like the televote. I mean, with that, I think that is definitely the thing of the last 10 years that has probably improved the contest the most in results-wise. Because I feel like the shows have been a lot closer too with the points. I could be wrong with that.
Closer, like as in, like the excitement, like close and
Yeah,
well, we have more
because
points. It could go either way. With more points, there's a chance of you getting a lot more points. But I think it helps balance it out because we got the
yeah,
jury points and the televote now,
yeah, because some songs just aren't for juries, and like let's
and
say
vice versa.
let's say Iceland last year, there is like notoriously a song that a lot of juries would probably like put on their bottom, and so it wouldn't get any points at all. Where now it would get still the points from the televote from the people that really enjoyed it. I think that would be a good example of a song that really benefited from this new system, and so I think it's definitely it. I think it changed more than we think because it has inspired more people maybe to try it out because the televote is a thing more. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Tough to tell.
it's tough to tell. Yes, I will miss definitely his "Take It Away." Right?
Yeah.
Maybe Martin will take that over. It's become a thing, or he's
I think
starting
he'll
his
definitely
own.
do it the first year and then afterwards create his own thing.
That is
But
true. Just like as an ode to Jan Ola.
yeah,
Take it away. We shall see. I mean, it's a minor thing, of course, but most people don't care about that. Like the average reader, they don't know all this. Us Eurovision fans care about this stuff. He has done a lot to the contest that I appreciate. There are a few things that I didn't like. I'm still very much against the producer chosen running order. It just really, it still to this day screams favoritism to me, and not even less than that. Um, Obvious, like there's certain songs, it's not even necessarily the country that they're trying to bury, but it's certain clear that a song that did really well in the semis gets
mhm,
a good running order in the first half, right? If you finish first in the your semi and you be drawn to the first half of the finals, you usually end up between 9 and 13 in the running
yeah,
order. And it's just like, okay, we know these songs, or like whoever finishes in second in the running order, we know, okay, they're probably just finished 7th to 10th place or so in the semis, that kind of stuff. So that is something that bothers me to this day, and I don't think that's changing, though, with the new executive supervisor. I feel like that's the producers love that stuff.
mhm,
I do love the new voting system that they have done. This is a big step forward. I I didn't like the voting procedure this last year where they go from
yeah,
You didn't like it either? Okay, so I liked it the way it was from 2016 to 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
They changed it so they go through the jury running order, ranking, up. It's less exciting because by the
Yeah.
time Sweden came around, most people already had their calculators ready and knew how many points they would get. And it's just like, no. And it's almost cruel watching these people, their faces like, oh, you remember John Lundvik's
Yeah,
face?
that is my biggest issue with it. I think it's so sad to see people who did really well with the juries get like very low points because the previous system, it wasn't that much of a focus on it because it was just like, oh, that country has 20 points. Let's move on to the next one. And now you're really focusing the camera on that country and then announce their points. So
I saw Malta and Czech Republic and their sad faces. I remember them in Sweden. It was not enjoyable.
No.
It's also almost like disrespectful. And same happens in Junior Eurovision. Did you watch Junior Eurovision this year?
I did watch it, yes.
Yeah, so when it came down to Poland and Kazakhstan, not Kazakhstan.
Yeah, Kazakhstan.
Yeah, Kazakhstan, you're right. It was, you saw the kid like almost like passing out, right? And it's just not right. It's even worse in Junior because they're kids. I like it better. It's also more optimistic. For instance, 2016, Poland did horrible with the juries, but then they got so excited when they got third place with the televoters, and it was so uplifting and happy. I feel like that system works way better. Hopefully they're going to switch back. That was just one thing. Go ahead.
Exactly. Like Norway never got their moment now. And I feel like when Mikael Spak had like 4 points from the juries and then got all of those points from the televote, he got his moment and everybody was like, yeah, good job, man. You deserve this. And Norway never really got that moment last year. I think that's really sad too.
It's really sad.
We should go back.
It's a very big focus on the jury favorites, right? Yes, they messed up with it. It was technically North Macedonia that was in first place, but at the night it was Sweden still in first place, but they got the most attention when it should have been Norway and Netherlands getting the most attention, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Or Italy and that kind of stuff. So that we finally agree on something, Roy. No, we agree on a lot. I'm just being silly. So no, that and Australia, of course, is a controversial decision, and Jan Olason made that even more controversial statement that USA may join the contest if the American Song Contest doesn't work out. So there was a lot noise. He's no longer going to be in charge, so it won't matter. So anyway, so this is the legacy that he leaves behind. Let's focus on the future, Roy. Think about the things that you hope to see at Eurovision. What do you hope Martin Osterdahl will bring to the table, and do you think he's going to make a difference, and like which way we're going to go?
I just hope he pushes to get more countries back. I think it would be cool to see countries like Slovakia go back, and all those countries that we've lost throughout the years, and make it more. I wouldn't like to flood the system, but I would much rather have countries return rather than having USA join or something like that. I don't know. I think we should.
Why do you hate me, Roy?
No, but like that's such a huge
Yeah.
country. With Australia, I don't really mind it that much because there's not that many people there.
It's also there is a history, but they've been broadcasting the contest for God knows how many years. There are bigger fans in some of the countries taking part. You can make a case there, but the USA, you cannot make a case. Well, you can make one case, but besides that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and maybe something like. Maybe make Amura Vision succeed, make Africa Vision succeed, make Asia Vision succeed. Like have a competition in every continent, and that could be really interesting too. I would love to see all of the African countries compete with each other because that would be a totally different flavor than Eurovision. Same with Asia, and same with like maybe put Salah. Maybe something that he could do in the future. I'm not sure if that's very realizable because it's different and difficult probably still. And I just hope that he takes like 20 years on the job and then steps down from me.
Ooh, did you hear that? Somebody cut that out and put it on the Eurovision website. We have a new applicant. So no, but what you're saying is absolutely right. One of the things that I hope, and this was I was going to point out as well, is bring back some of the countries. And if we believe what was it the San Marie's head of delegation talked about, that bringing back some of the smaller countries is not a priority to the EBU as of right now, because again, money makes the world go round. They don't want to grow the contest. They want to keep it at 43 or below, and the smaller countries just are not as important to them. So there is no incentive of helping them financially because a lot of them cannot afford the contest, in particular, like Andorra and all these countries, Slovakia even. So I hope that Martin will bring a different perspective in this and saying, you know what, this is a Eurovision Song Contest where we celebrate all countries, all cultures, bring them
Yes.
back. And that should be a focus. And I'm hoping there's going to be a different attitude with that. That is my biggest hope that Martin will bring to the table. I am worried, and this may be unfair just for blaming him for being Swedish, that he's trying to turn Eurovision even more into Melodifestivalen. And nothing wrong with Melodifestivalen. I love it. It's one of the best things ever. But Eurovision is not Melodifestivalen. And one of the things, like for instance, I don't like is that, especially Christa Bjorkman, who was initially pushing for Eurovision to get like recorded backing tracks as well, so you know the backup singers are no longer needed, that they're trying to go down that route and that kind of stuff. That really worries me, so I'm hoping that we're not going down that route. I don't think that just because we have a Swedish person now running Eurovision that this is going to happen, but it was the first thing that popped up in my mind. Please don't turn this into Melodifestivalen. So those are my two things, and I'm hoping if the countries is the biggest thing for me, don't turn it into a show that is not. And I'm not even, there are more traditionalists when it comes to Eurovision, right? Only European countries, blah blah blah, all of that stuff. I'm not necessarily part of that per se. I understand what they're saying. I don't necessarily mind this contest evolving into something more international, but if you do it, be fair, be reasonable, not just pick America because it has the most money, but pick the countries that have maybe association with Europe or Eurovision, or that are really interested in joining. Again, Kazakhstan comes to mind here. Let them in first because they really want to take part. They're taking part in Junior Vision. There are other countries down that route. I'm just saying, don't just push countries into the running that just where it makes no sense to me. And that is what I'm hoping that if they're going to do the international route, that is what they're going to do. Steffo is saying, I really would love new versions coming to the Eurovision brand, like USA, Eurovision Asia, Eurovision Africa, Eurovision. We talked briefly about that, just to answer your question, Steffo, last week in our live stream as well. And stuff like, we're going to get the American Song Contest, I think, next year in 2021. And we don't think it's going to work here, certainly not from what we're hearing, the way they're trying to set it up, because we don't have that competitive nature we are competitive here in the United States, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I'm talking about the country, state versus state. North Dakota and South Dakota, that are going to be like, it's the Dakotas. California, we don't care. You said again, the example like the singing competitions like American Idol. Usually people from the South win, even if they're not always the best singers, but usually people that come from the South win the contest because it's mostly watched in the South. And people have a little bit more pride within, southern states. Like, I'm from the great state of Texas or Alabama, Tennessee, so they vote for the likes. In California, if someone comes up, hi, I'm Kate, I'm from Los Angeles. And we're like, okay, whatever. I don't care. So what? So are like 10 million more people. So we don't have that. So it's a very different approach here. So it would make more sense to either have like some kind of Melodifestivalen set up here where acts qualify, even more by city would make more sense, or my dream would be reviving the contest, the Americas, right, where all the countries in North and South America will compete, and USA is just one of them, versus Brazil, versus Chile, versus Argentina, and you get all of that. So I think that would work better. Any other thoughts that you have on the new supervisor, Roy?
I think we talked about pretty much everything. I don't think I've ever.
No, that's fine. I didn't want to just cut you short. I think that is exactly how I feel about it as well. And the only other thing that we have here, I want to talk about the progress that we're making with Eurovision 2020. There are so many things going on. And Roy, you being local, you may even bring up something that I haven't thought of. But this week, what we found out is that I'm really excited about the producers of the Eurovision show this year said that all interval acts and all parts of the show will be Dutch. They will not rely on international names to kind of fill the void, not even a void, but the stage to potentially drive more viewers, which I think is not even a thing anyway. So we won't see another Justin Timberlake or another Madonna situation at Eurovision in the Netherlands. One thing I also know is that they are trying, Roy, in the finals, the grand final, they invited every single Dutch participant from 19, well, some of them are no longer alive, but from the beginning of the contest until 2019 to be part of the inaugural act in the grand final. So any act that is still around and wants to take part can take part. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's something along. We don't really know what they're gonna do with it just
Yeah.
yet, but they did indeed say if you've partaken, and if you feel like you want to be involved in the show, hit us up. Maybe they're gonna do like an interval act where all of those acts sing a song together. I think that would be cool, and like, uh, depending on how many there will be, they could make like a bit of a mashup between all of the songs.
Yeah,
Something like that
I
could
think
be
that's what's
cool.
going to be like a mashup, like all like they
Yeah.
all sing like a line of their song and stuff like that.
Yes. I
I
think that
love
could be
that kind of
cool.
stuff. I would love that. And I think that is what that's when my traditional thinking comes to mind here. That is what it should be about. Celebrating the history of your country at Eurovision, your culture. And even if you just send, an act that is very popular, like within Temptation, like I just think like I don't know that many Dutch international acts, but that would be one. That would make sense. Like this is what we have, that kind of stuff. Celebrate your culture, your tradition, and I'm so glad that the Dutch are doing that. The Dutch are doing so many good things. I want to point out that as well. What I love, for instance, about Sweden 2013, Petra Mede, she did this whole skit about how the Swedes are and the little quirks and all of that stuff. A really comedy skit. It was so funny about how they're so quiet, and if you talk on the bus, you're either a drunk or a crazy person, and it was so funny. And
Yeah.
something like that I could see work in the because you all Dutch have your own. Every country has their own little quirks, right? You're known
Oh,
for you.
definitely.
You are
Yes.
known as being cheap bitches. Now you're known as being frugal, of course. But so are the Germans. To be fair, you watch your
Yeah.
money. You're very green country. So it would be fun to have that kind of celebrating your strength and what you bring
Mm.
to the table. So I would love that kind of stuff. Is that something that you would love to see in particular?
Yeah. A good thing to point out is that one of the biggest export products from the Netherlands is probably music. We have so many good DJs that have like made it big globally, and there are so many good Dutch artists that just um, it would just be a shame to not have Dutch people do their thing in the interval acts and getting people like Madonna. We don't really need that because we already have our big stars, I guess. And I always think like Madonna and Justin Timberlake were just a bit like, this is not what we need. This is a bit of a bad afterthought, and
Yes.
it would have been much better without, because they want to have the show about them, and the show is not about them. The show is about the country or about Europe and the songs competing in that. And there are so many more things that Netherlands is good at. Like for example, we have a very good dancing school that is very big in the Netherlands that has a lot of people there, and they'll be perfect for the job to do interval acts, to be backup dancers,
Yes.
maybe even for certain things. Um, and we are very good in technology as well. So stage design or cameramen, we don't really need that many people from outside. I think the Netherlands would be a really good country to do just Netherlands with. And
Yes.
maybe that's a bit egotistical, but
No, it's not
it is.
because, and I'm going to say that I'm from a country that is very loud and proud, right? And we are
Mm.
USA, USA. But what I love about the Dutch right now is that they are being so comfortably and reasonably healthy. Patriotic, is that even the right word? They want to really make it a Dutch show.
I
They
feel
have
like
a. Go ahead.
I feel like they're trying to make it one of the best shows we've seen in a couple of years, and I feel like what they're doing with this is they really want to put a stamp on it. Look, it is from the Netherlands. We
Yes.
deliver this amazing show.
Yeah. There will
I
be no
think
Krista
that
Bjorkman running a show. It's all just Dutch people. They give free tickets to people living in Rotterdam, like in a lottery and stuff like that. They what else? They have all these parties and events that hundreds of people apply to do stuff. Celebrate Eurovision across the city. So they get all these people involved. I think it's fantastic. I love that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and I just read that they do something for disabled people. I'm
Yes.
not. I haven't really read the full article, but I read something that they are trying to organize something that everybody, even people who cannot see or hear, can enjoy the show. And I think that is amazing.
I remember. Oh no, I shouldn't be. I'm going to say it anyway. It was so
Okay.
uncomfortable. In 2013, we were in Malmo, and there was like this viewing upstairs, and we had a lady in the wheelchair, and she's like, "How am I going to get up there?" The Swedes didn't think of that, so we actually had to carry her up, because so
Uh,
she could see it. It was so like, wow, they didn't even think of that. You know, you think the Swedes are always so considerate. I'm like, you forgot about the people that cannot even go up to the higher floor because there's no elevator, only stairs. It was a little like awkward.
yeah.
Not for us, but for them, of course.
Mm.
So they fixed it the next day, fortunately. But yeah, no. So I'm glad they're thinking of everything. So this is really, really exciting. We don't know everything yet what they're going to do. There are still we don't even know where the Eurovision village is yet for sure. Correct, right? They haven't decided on that yet. I know you're a
I think so.
club, but the Eurovision village has not been announced yet, so they're looking right now. But there's so much
Yeah.
to come, and I feel like this is going to be quite an experience. I am thrilled. I cannot wait to go to Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Only a few more months. It's not a long trip for you, Roy. It's not like a big deal, but
No, it's like 1.5 hour drive by train, probably, or by car.
go by
So,
car. Yeah, for me it's like well, if I fly from here, then I mean I would never fly direct from here to Amsterdam because it's expensive. But even if I were, it would be like 11 hours. So with the layover, it would be like 14 hours. You know, so it's dedication when you do
mhm.
it coming from LA. So the last thing we just want to talk about, and then we're going to open it up to open questions, is the allocation draw. So the allocation draw is next week, early next week, and the EBU has finally given us the allocation pots. How it
Yes.
works, we have 41 participants, and so there are big five, so 35 countries in the semis, if I'm not mistaken, right? Did my math add up right? But
Something like
anyway, so 41 minus 6, yeah, so it must
Yeah,
be 35
35.
countries in the
Yeah.
semifinal. So they need to be allocated between semi 1 and semi 2. So what they do is they put together these allocation pots. So they put
Mhm.
countries in one pot that tend to have similar voting patterns, meaning voting for each other more frequently, I guess. And therefore they're being spread out amongst those two semis, so it makes it a little bit more even keel, a fair semis, rather than just getting like all the Nordic countries in one group and then they all vote for each other, and then other countries who don't have that kind of support get left behind. So it's usually like 3 in one, 3 in the other, that kind of thing. So
Yes.
they gave us the pots this year, and I was going to put them on screen, but when I click on the window, the sound goes away, so I'll add them in post-edit wise. So we're just going to read them to you for now, and then when you rewatch the video, it'll show up on the screen.
Mhm.
But the big difference here is that they have been allocated to 5 pots. We
Yes.
used to have 6 until last year. So they got rid of 1 and just spread the love around, if you will. And let's take a look at them one by one real quick. It doesn't have to be much talking because they're pretty straightforward. Roy, I assume you kind of took a big glance on them as well. The first one is Albania, Austria, Croatia, North Macedonia, Serbia, Slovenia, and Switzerland. So a big chunk of the ex-Yugoslavian countries, huh?
Yeah, it's a bit of like Balkan with Switzerland and
Yeah.
Austria mixed to it.
The
There's not
neighbors.
much. Yeah, it's not much of an oddity there. They're like kind of close to each other. I think they're all neighboring one another,
Yeah,
and
it's like Switzerland and Austria and Slovenia and Austria right next to each other,
yeah,
so they
exactly.
have,
So it
yeah,
makes sense that that's a part.
yes, and Austria often votes for countries like Croatia, and it
Mhm.
makes sense. So I was not surprised. There can only so many countries fit into one pod. Then the second pod is interesting. Well, not really, but it's Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, and Australia. So
Yeah.
it's the Nordic countries plus Australia.
Yeah, so the Nordic countries plus the adopted Nordic country in Australia.
It is true
Because
because they kind of both similar, right? The
yeah,
music
exactly.
is very similar.
Mhm.
So no surprise there either. I think that is a
No, I
fair
mean
pot.
Australia is obviously the biggest outlier because they're not really close to Scandinavia, but
Yes.
they enjoy similar music and they vote for similar countries, so it definitely makes sense.
Yes. And then we got pot 3, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, Russia, and Ukraine. A lot of the ex-Soviets. I mean, that is when I say a perfect, it's subjective, but probably the most reasonable
Yeah.
pot, huh?
the only big thing for me is that Moldova and Romania are split. That is
Yes.
the only big thing for me. And besides that, this is indeed a very good pot. It's just the old Soviet countries together, so they can't really be a big, strong voting bloc against all the other
Yeah.
countries. So it's a good pot for me.
And they're looking at it more big picture rather than just
Mm,
making it about Romania and Moldova because it's not going to be that big of a difference. They still have a big chance being the same semi or not in the same semi, just being in different parts as well. It's more like a big picture because Moldova votes for Russia and Russia votes
yeah.
for Moldova. You get all of that stuff. So no, I agree with you. It was my first thing also standing out, but looking at it, it makes perfect sense as well. The next group is Bulgaria, Cyprus, Greece, Malta, Portugal, Romania, and San Marino. It's a lot of like southeastern
Yeah. And Portugal.
Mediterranean countries. I'm sorry.
It's like southern West Europe, like a bit of the island countries, a bit of the southern European countries, and Portugal, because
Yes,
they're like on the other side of the sea. So that was a bit of the odd one out there for me, I guess.
it is. It's a little bit odd. And this is, I mean, Cyprus and Greece, Bulgaria make the most sense out of all
Hmm.
of them anyway, because this is like the trio. Malta, San Marino, even Portugal, they don't really have a big support group. You know what I mean? There's
No.
not a whole lot of diaspora. There's not a whole lot of friendly voting going on for them. So this is like the rando group, Malta, Portugal, and San Marino, bringing in like the other southeastern countries, and then Romania, because you got to put them in somewhere now, because all the other
Yeah.
groups are taking the spots.
Mhm.
So this is like a fun one. And then part five is Belgium, Czech Republic, Ireland, Israel, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just I guess scrambled together. I think it's Israel and Ireland that are the weirdest of the pot. You got the oh God, I cannot come up with the name. Lithuania and Latvia are in the same pot. I can't come up with the region for some reason.
You
Um,
mean the Baltic?
yeah, exactly. Baltic. I was with
Okay.
Balkan, and I was like, that's not true. It's not the Balkans.
I know. I
But
get my son. I get mixed up too when I talk fast, so I get it.
yeah, so it makes sense that they're together. Belgium, Czech Republic tend to have like a similar taste. Same for Poland, I guess, and they're like neighbors with Czech Republic. And you need to have a pot for these countries. So I guess that's more of the idea behind this. Um,
Yes.
it's a bit scrambled together, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot get them all, like, because you would think Estonia belongs with Latvia and Lithuania, but Estonia is also basically a Nordic country. I mean, it's even at the
Yeah.
Nordic parties now. They vote with both, but you cannot split them. You can have them in two pots. Overall, it makes sense. This Netherlands, if they weren't pre-qualified, would probably be in pot five as well.
Yeah.
With Belgium, Czech Republic, they probably would potentially kick out. Well, Israel's also a little bit more. Israel is actually more, I would actually think, down the
Pot four, I
obviously not
think.
an ex-Soviet country, but they tend to vote for like Russia as well a lot, so they would often fall into that category, and they vote for Azerbaijan quite a bit. But again, that pot is full.
Yeah, I'd
So
probably put it in pot four. Like you have a bit of a Southern Europe, and maybe those sounds there are like in Cyprus and Greece tend to be liked in Israel as well. I think
mhm.
so. I think I would have put it there, but I mean, it really is whatever.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal here either. I think so. Looking at the pots, you agree? They make sense to you?
Yeah, they overall make a lot of sense to me, and we can have a better debate once the semifinals are allocated to one another. So, uh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
whatever now, really.
yeah. And I will have a different video coming out, potentially live stream or just a quick video after the allocation draw, because that is where analyzing and debating and predicting comes
There
into
is the
play.
bloodbath this year.
I know there's always there's one country that often just gets the short end of the stick. It happens every single time. But if your song is good, it'll qualify.
By the way,
It'll
can
qualify.
can Ukraine and Russia be in the same semifinal? I think so. Yes. Or
Oh yeah, of course I can. They can all.
yeah, okay.
And
Because I know with like football and other kind of sports, they usually try to avoid having Russia and Ukraine in the same semi. But It makes sense.
Yeah, here, but it's not like they're just facing off each other, right? It would be
Yeah, that
only
makes
like a duel. They probably would do the same thing with Armenia and Azerbaijan, you know. So plus,
right.
they both will probably qualify for the finals. It's not like we can have two finals because they're having some political
Hmm.
situation going on there. So
Yeah,
no, they
that's
will. Yeah, so they'll always put them in the same pod, and then if they would never put them next to each other in like in the press center.
mm,
They always put them in other rooms. I'll always tell that story from 2014. You need to rewatch the video. They usually sit them in the announcement that were announced. You know, the first country to qualify is San Marino, and then there's Romania. So Armenia and Azerbaijan were announced after each other, and then in the press center they had to tag the names right next to each other. But then last minute before they walked in, they grabbed, I think it was Azerbaijan, and put them at the end of the table so they wouldn't have to sit next to each other in the press conference.
wow.
I know, it was really, really, oh my God. And I remember in the dress rehearsal, um, they do also rehearse the points, right? So,
Mm,
and they're fake points. So,
yeah.
Azerbaijan's fake points were going to Armenia 8 points, right? And the spokesperson refused to say it. So, but these are fake points. And it was like, and 8 points go to Ireland. And we're like, sorry, Ireland is not in the finals. So it's just always like that. So,
Yeah.
and the difference is also, Roy, Ukraine gives Russia points, not
Hmm.
the juries, but there's a huge Russian population in
Yeah,
Ukraine.
yeah,
So they get
definitely.
they don't get the 12 points from the televote, but they get like 5 or 6 usually
Hmm.
anyway. So it's a little interesting. People
Hmm.
say there is no politics at Eurovision. I wish that would be the case, but we live in the real world. I wish there wasn't, but it is what it is. I wish the juries would be a little less political. There are in some ways, but in some ways there aren't. Why is Armenia always in last place with Azerbaijan with the juries and vice versa? You know, and it's a tough situation. We're not in their shoes. I get all of that, but at Eurovision you would hope that they could at least let go from that of that.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
one
why
day,
the
huh?
contest is created as well. It's like to unite everyone. So
Yes.
you would hope that they like lessen the tension there, but
Yeah.
it's what it is.
All right, then let's just do a quick roundup here. It's time to open the room for questions from you all that can be related to what we talked about, also just rando stuff. Feel
Mm.
free. I'm going to go for them here right now. At ES United, make sure that they stand out so I know that
Yes.
they're addressed to us. The first one is from our best friend, Billy the Extinguisher. Have you had the chance to listen to the Australian Decide songs yet? There are 7 released, 3 coming Friday. I have not. I will wait until all songs are released so that I can do my reaction video. So the answer for me is no. How about you, Roy?
Yeah, I've listened to them shortly, but not really in full focus because I'm also waiting for those final 3 because I like to listen to the full selection in one go when I'm full focused on them. So I
Hmm.
listened to them like very shortly, but I couldn't really tell you much about it right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, makes sense.
mhm.
The next question is by Anthony Johnson. Are you surprised that only one song is out so far? Um, Roy, are you surprised?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of usual that Albania is very early, and then
Yeah, it's
usually in
like
February it starts to kick off. I'm kind of surprised that Spain is already going to announce their song very soon.
yeah, I was
And
surprised about that too, which is exciting. I
yeah,
mean, over the last few years, they had that Operacio Triunfo thing, and they were actually out early as well then, but that was because it was just the way the show was set up.
mhm,
But it's always has been that way for the most part. There's some exceptions, I get that, but for the most part, it was Albania in December, and then for 3 years, no one else. And
yeah,
then, at some point, the next song comes in like late January, maybe at the
yeah,
earliest. So, but then they're all going to drop like 15 a day. And I wish it would be more spread out because it would make it less stressful for me. But that's how Eurovision works, especially those countries that select internally. They want to wait until the very last moment, just like they want to be like the last one to release their song, and then
yeah.
just like boom, boom, boom. So no, I don't think it's weird at all. Okay, let's keep scrolling here. Oh, there's so many questions. Latvian is asking, did you vote on the Czech entry? Have you voted?
I have. Did you?
Okay, I have not.
Hmm.
Is voting still open?
I think it is, but I'm not positive.
I didn't. I felt like I shouldn't vote because I feel like I have a little
Yeah.
bit more of, not skin in the game, but certainly I feel weird if hi, I'm Matt. I didn't vote for you. You know,
But I mean,
it's
they wouldn't get to know that, right? If you never tell
they
in the
wouldn't know.
video.
That is true. Yeah, I haven't voted, but maybe I will if it's still open. I don't know yet. How? So you voted?
Yes.
Are you willing to share?
Um, there was another question asking for our top three. I could give my three favorite songs in no particular order, maybe.
Yeah, go ahead. You can do that. I'm bringing up the list because I did my reaction video and I shared my top three. I have to refresh my memory here because I only listened to them once so far. Why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah, so my three favorite songs in no particular order were Pam Rabbit's song. I think it worked for me. I know that it doesn't work for a lot of people because it is
I'm sorry. Which one was that again?
the Pam
Oh,
Rabbit
Pam
song. I
Red, Get
think it's
Up.
Get Up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I think it's a really cool song, and I really like when beats out of nowhere kind of open up and try to tear you apart, and that's really what it did with me. I really enjoyed that song. I really enjoyed We All Poop. I think that song could be really interesting. I know the name is really weird for a
I know. I
band.
try not to gig like I try to be serious because I'm like, how old am I? I'm not 13. I think I'll be all poopy, but
Yeah,
it just comes out of nowhere. You know, I just never expect to hit me that. Okay, go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I think that song could be really interesting on Eurovision. I don't think we've had anything like that before at Eurovision either. So that is in my top three as well. And my other song would probably be from Barbara Mochoa, if I pronounce it correctly, with the Black and White song. I can't fully remember the entire
White and black
title.
holes.
Yes, exactly. I think that would also be really unique. I really kind of went for uniqueness, I guess, in my top three. And yeah, I'm not going to say which I voted for, but that are my
Okay. Yeah.
favorites.
So my initial top three that I did in the reaction, keep in mind that was right after I listened to them once and I sat down. I have to tell you right now, at that point, it was number three. I had Kemama by Benny Cristo. My number two at that point was Wanna Be Like by Elvis Mraz.
Ah, yeah.
And number one was actually Dark Water by Olga Lunova. Um, the interesting
Three
part.
others than that I have. Lol.
I know, right? So, hey, you got here different opinions. But I will say, and when I first listened to We All Poop, All the Blood, because, you know, it just took me a minute to get into the song. So after like 2 minutes, I was like, now I get it. So that's a song I listened to again a second time. So this may be in my top three now. I haven't done a new ranking, but this is probably the biggest grower for me. So you can hear my top four now. So I need to rearrange them. I still think probably Dark Water is my personal favorite after
can see
everything even. What?
I can see why.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want to say that this Czech Republic selection is really, really strong, and all of these songs would be great representatives for Eurovision. So
yes, there's not a weak song in there. It just really, and the nice thing is, it doesn't seem like there's one clear fan favorite. It seems like because they're so different styles, and each song has like its own fan base. And the thing is, though, there will be so many disappointed faces. Unlike like Norway last year, everyone wanted Kaino, right? So everyone was happy. But here, there will be probably a lot more disappointed people than in others because it is a strong selection, and there is not a clear front runner.
yeah.
That makes it very, very interesting. Lee Farron is saying, what do you think the chances are of the UK sending a song worthy of finishing in the top five? I really hope, but I remain skeptical. And Lee Farron, I will say, you know, I've been rooting for the UK for so long. It's been like almost 20 years now. So I'm running out of hope. So I'm having low expectations. I have low expectations, and they not have a great track record selecting songs internally either. Really bad track record as of late. So I have a bad feeling, but I will say a broken clock is right twice a day. You know, that's what they say. So they may have something. They may have something that's just going to be like, whoa. And I would love, and I keep saying that almost every time we talk about the UK, despite their really horrible track record at Eurovision as of late, I'm a fan of all Eurovision from 1956 to 2020, and they're still one of my favorite Eurovision countries because they brought so much to the table when it comes to Eurovision. Some of my favorite classics are from the UK, so I want them to do well, and I want this shame-based watching at Eurovision. No one will admit that they love Eurovision or they watch it all. Like, oh, this is stupid. You know, it's always this political neighbors vote. They don't like us because Brexit. Blah blah blah. But the viewing figures are high. Everyone watches it alone, so no one will find out. You know, they don't want to admit they watch it, but they do. So I want them to get their pride back in the
Mhm.
contest. To like a top 5 result, or I wouldn't even mind a win. I would love to go to London because it's, well, not London. I mean, I say London because I would fly into London and then travel to wherever I need to
Mhm.
go, to the UK because I mean, I love the country and they speak my language. I love to go there and I love the Brits anyway. And I love that they're so sarcastic and I'm sarcastic and a dry sense of humor. I just get along with them. So
Yeah.
that's my thought at least. How about you, Roy?
Yeah, I think my only really bit of hope is that they are working together with one big record label, and I think they had some good artists signed to them, so that could really be some sort of hope for them. But I have my expectations really low as well, and I really do hope, just like Germany, that they impress us and have something cool happening this year,
Prove us
because
wrong. That's what I say.
they
Prove us wrong.
have so much talent in that country, and send a cool garage rock band, send some grime rapper that just nobody would ever really go for, and it would be so UK, and maybe people will go for it because it is so unique, and they should just try something cool and not try something bad to be funny, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think about the Big Five? Only Italy will have a national final this year. That is right. I didn't even think of that.
Mm.
Most likely, at least, because we talked about there is a slight chance, and maybe we select an act in Germany, and then they have 3 songs, something like that. But most likely, I would think it's going to be an internal selection as well.
Mm.
That is an interesting observation, huh? Like all the Big Five, because they kind of suck at
Yeah.
this thing as of late. That they feel like, you know what, let's just try something and see if it sticks. Like try to
Yeah.
pull a Switzerland.
Yeah, but like I don't think that they should do it either. I kind of like the idea of the big five countries sending in a big artist and not have a selection where they have so much lesser good songs in it as well, to just expose them to not being worthy of a big five spot. I mean, in reality, that's not really what's happening because UK and Germany doesn't really do that well. I mean, exceptions, but in
Well,
general,
Germany has
doesn't.
Germany is like, yeah, no, we suck, we suck. Yeah, we're good. Oh no, we suck, and we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 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 no. That's like they have like these moments where they shine
Yeah.
and then they go back to shite.
And I feel like Italy is different because Sanremo is just such a prestigious thing, and it isn't even necessarily said that the song that wins there goes to Eurovision. It could be a totally different artist even going to Eurovision
Happened
because
before.
they only have the option to go there, and they can still decline or say no, I want a different song, because that's happened in the past before. And
Yeah.
yeah, we don't really know that, and it's just a different thing. And I feel like that prestigiousness is what they should keep, and I really
Yes.
like that about Italy.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Sanremo to start. I feel so.
Mm.
And yeah, Spain. Who am I missing? France. Yeah, France also went to a national internal selection again. So
Yeah.
they all kind of gave up on it for now. It's unfortunate because I love my national finals.
Hmm.
Hopefully, it's not becoming a pattern. I almost feel like I want them to flop so they go back to national finals. But at the same time, I don't know if logic. They just then they freak out again. It seems like they freak out about a bad result, and then they try to change it up. Like build on it. Build
Hmm.
on something. Sweden had Melodifestivalen for a gazillion years, but for like 4 to 5 years they sucked. And then they made some changes, Melodifestivalen maybe, and then they're back to the glory days. So that could happen with the other countries as well. You just do not just quit.
No.
So let's do a couple more questions. Jeffrey is asking, Netherlands hosted the opening a decade in 1970, 80, and now 2020, but they skipped the 90s, obviously. Those years, Ireland won. So this year too?
Yes.
Yes.
Easy answer. Yes.
Easy answer. So put your
Mm,
money down on Ireland because that's
they're
what
gonna
is.
send a cool artist,
Yeah.
and they'll definitely win. Watch
Yeah.
my article. I've read one on. Oh, no, I didn't read one. I wrote one. Jesus. I
Talk.
can't speak anymore, Matt.
Oh, dear.
I wrote one on our website where I proposed 3 really cool and small artists for Ireland, which was one of the countries. So read it. They are cool.
Ooh, that's right. Go to ESC United. Okay. This is the perfect question to wrap this up. Vanya
Mm.
is asking, looking into a crystal ball, who will win 2020? Come on, Roy. Tell us. Who is going to be the winner of the Eurovision Song Contest 2020 in Rotterdam, the Netherlands?
Ooh, that is a really difficult
All right, let
one.
me go first then, because
Yeah.
I think actually got the question last week as well, and that's what I said. I don't know. First of all, duh, but I will not go with the crystal ball. My crystal ball is telling me that my selfishness is going to win over, and for selfish reasons, I want a country to win that I badly want to go to that I haven't been to. So my crystal ball is telling me right now that it'll be a three-way race between Iceland, Croatia, and Malta. One of them is going to win.
That just sounds like you took three darts in your hands. You had a map of Europe and you just threw them blindfolded, and they landed on those three spots because they're like, oh, that's
All
brilliant.
over, but those are three countries I really want to
Yeah.
visit, so therefore they are like now the favorites to win.
Okay,
But honestly,
so
there's a lot of other countries, but
if you're going with three countries, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna
okay.
say Italy. I think they've been close to it so many times, and it is only about time that they win it. I feel like Macedonia should win it sometime soon, and maybe this is their year. Although they
Oh my
haven't
god,
won
oh
it
my
for
god.
years.
It's right, it's North Macedonia. Don't get me kicked off
Oh,
YouTube.
oh God. North Macedonia. And look, last year I would have said Hungary, but yeah, they're not in it anymore. Maybe Belgium. Belgium could be cool.
Bulgaria
I'm
would be
very
cool.
looking so forward to see what Hooverphonic will bring to the table. I think it could be cool.
Yes.
Some
I
of
would
us.
love to go to I mean, there's so many. I just picked those three because they always come on my list, but I would love to go to Bulgaria. I would love to go to Slovenia.
Yeah.
I would love to go to Georgia. My Uber driver was from Georgia like a few days ago, and we just talked for like an hour because it was an hour ride. And I just like, oh, now I really want to go. So my crystal ball is telling me a country that hasn't won the contest yet, or at least not within the last 10 years, is going to win. That is my prediction. So, go ahead.
I'll agree with that. Not a country who has won the last 10 years
Yes.
will win.
That is true. And that is our crystal ball, and we're always right. Therefore, that's what's going to happen. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Once again, my apologies for the initial system issues. I believe it was my fault because I was on Wi-Fi. I forgot to put in my Ethernet cable. I usually don't disconnect it, but I had to move stuff around, and then I didn't put it back in. So I take the blame, but I don't care. What are you going to do? Fire me? Have a good day, everyone. Have a good night. Also, people are asking, are we going to do more live streams? Of course, every weekend. I cannot promise it's going to be on a Saturday or Sunday because, I do have a live and I sometimes switch it around. But there will be at least one on the weekend, and we're going to try to squeeze in one during the week as well, during the busy season, because there's so much going on. If we pack it at the very end, it's outdated and it's just too much to talk about. So, that's what we're going to do. So, Roy, you'll be back soon, promise?
I will promise. That will be a lot of fun.
That will be a lot of fun. All right, everyone. We are out of here. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Sorry we have to run, but, again, we do have lives, and I'm flipping hungry. Have a good day, everyone. And